Dead bodies will continue to be transformed into the flesh-eating ghouls.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Pathophysiology of the Living Dead. I'm Spooky Bill, and I'll be your nurse today. Thanks for sticking around after episode 2, where my all-encompassing views on zombies were sure to piss a few people off. Now, speaking of episode 2, was a little longer than I'd like to keep future episodes. I'm not used to the 10-minute, 2 GB YouTube restrictions yet. I will try and keep future episodes under that 10 minutes and 1 part. That being said, let me stop wasting time and get right to today's topic. Now, in most cases, the biological zombie infection is spread through bite. So, this is where we'll start. Let's say an uninfected subject was just bitten by an infected subject. So first we have to determine what kind of bite it is. Now, there are 2 categories of human bites. The first being occlusive, and what most people think of when they hear bite wound. This is where the teeth close around the skin. And the second type of bite is called clenched fist. And, well, this is where somebody's fist comes in contact with another person's teeth. Happens in most cases where somebody is being punched in the face. Clenched fist injuries are the most dangerous in the non-zombie world, so we can assume that this would also be true in the zombie world. Because, well, one, you would have to be seriously daft to engage in unprotected close combat with a zombie, and 2, what's your first reaction to this type of injury? To pull back and open up your hand, right? Pull back, open up. So what happens when you pull back and open up your hand? You pull your extensor tendons, right? These are the tendons that cause your hand to open. They pull back. If you have a wound here, the hand opens, pulling along the tendons the pathogen. Now, this pathogen is then moving further into the body, past the point of inflammation, past the point where it can be easily cleaned out. Once it's past that point, it can easily gain access to the bloodstream or to the lymphatic system, which eventually drains into the bloodstream, which we'll discuss that later in a future episode. Now, currently, while clenched fist injuries are among the most common type of bite wound, in the zombie apocalypse, we're going to see a rise in occlusive bites. As a matter of fact, an increase in these types of injuries is one of the first signs that the zompocalypse is nearing. Now, your body's first response to this type of injury, well, any type of injury really, is inflammation. And this is to isolate, destroy, or inactivate any foreign invaders, and it sets the stage for tissue repair. We're not going to cover tissue repair in this series, it's pointless. This is immediate. It's first caused by the injury, but then carried on as the body recognizes the presence of a pathogen. There are 5 classic symptoms to inflammation: heat, redness, swelling, pain, and eventual loss of function. Upon injury, tissue cells called mast cells release histamine, and this histamine causes vasodilation. This is to deliver plasma proteins, which aid in inflammation, and leukocytes, or white blood cells, which fight infection, brings those to the affected area. Now, this vasodilation causes redness and increased heat. This vasodilation is also caused by the enzymatic splitting of plasma proteins, which increases your sensitivity to pain. An increased permeability of plasma proteins to the area allows them to move to the interstitial fluid, which is the fluid surrounding the cells, and this is what leads to swelling. Also, the eventual loss of function is, well, it's caused by several factors, one of which is just a neurological reflex to the pain. Now, there are other components released, enzymes, gases, proteins, which create a cascade of effects which further prolong and carry out inflammation. But the key actors in inflammation are phagocytes. Phagocytes are cells that swallow, destroy, or render harmless any foreign invader. Now, within 30 to 60 minutes after the onset of inflammation, neutrophils, which are a white blood cell that act as a phagocyte, move out of the bloodstream through a process called chemotaxis. Pausing for a minute, neutrophils are by far one of the most abundant types of white blood cells, making up 54 to 62%. followed by eosinophils, basophils, monocytes, and lymphocytes, all of which are developed in the bone marrow, though monocytes and lymphocytes further divide and develop outside of the marrow. Now, as I said before, neutrophils function as phagocytes, but they also release chemicals such as vasodilators and chemotaxins, which allow more phagocytes to move to the affected area. Monocytes follow a little later on, and once in the tissue, they go through anatomical and functional changes that turns them into macrophages. Macrophage being a cell capable of phagocytosis. And we'll discuss more of this later in episode 4, the next episode. Regardless of how it escapes, once in the bloodstream, systemic inflammation occurs, where the toxic chemicals that neutrophils and macrophages produce don't have any specific targets, leading to vasodilation on a large scale, organ failure, and eventually the pathogen overwhelms its host, and this is termed sepsis, and we'll discuss this further in a future episode. Now, obviously we know that if a bite is deep enough, or a pathogen is pulled along your extensor tendons, as in clenched fist injuries, that it can gain access to your bloodstream. It may also be possible that it's a very rapid replicator, and within the 30 to 60 minutes before neutrophils show up and try and destroy these invaders, this pathogen, that is already replicated beyond the point where that can take care of it and it can easily overwhelm the system. Now, as I said in episode 4, we will more specifically go into immune response and how a pathogen can escape the confines of inflammation. So keep watching. Stay tuned to the blog for updates. If you liked the video, be sure to rate it, subscribe. Any feedback of any kind, questions, comments, leave them in the box below. And as always, thank you for watching.